So thank you so much. Thank you. This is a Green Tara wonderful retreat day that we have an opportunity to do. So we're going to treat it like we're in retreat as much as we can, And so the nice thing with Green Tara, and I'm really glad, this is the deity we're going to be focused on. So it's nice she's right in the front. You can come up also in the breaks and look a little more closely. There are 21 versions of Tara, as some of you know. And we're most familiar with the green Tara. We're also familiar with the white Tara. White Tara is one of the white Taras is a long life emanation of the Buddha. So they represent the omniscient mind, omniscient consciousness, the Buddha mind, and then the Buddha manifests in different ways to help us, as I've mentioned before. So again, with her, you see her left leg is drawn in. So it symbolizes she's got control of her sexual energy and desire, one of the three poisons in the mind. Her right leg is extended out. She's very active, this particular emanation, and she's ready to jump up and serve all living beings. So how do we embrace her, carry her in our hearts to face all the external challenges going on right now, whatever's happening? The legend is also, just to know a little bit more about Tara, and they call her Tara the Liberator. She frees you from your delusions, from suffering. So we all want that for the most part. But the legend is she's in the family of Chenrezig, the Buddha of infinite compassion. So on this wall above His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, it's nice how the center's done that, is a 1,000-armed version of the Buddha of compassion. 1,000-armed Chenrezig in Tibetan, or Avalokiteshvara in Sanskrit. So I'm sorry for those of you online, but some of you are familiar with 1,000-armed Chenrezig. His Holiness is said to be an embodiment of that Buddha, that particular Buddha. There was one time I was in Dharamsala. I've lived there over some time over the years. And occasionally somebody gets an appointment with His Holiness for some reason, or has an individual appointment. Sometimes we meet with His Holiness in groups. Like Tushita, they finished a retreat and then they got an appointment. Everybody went down to get a blessing. It's beautiful. So now they have public audiences with His Holiness, sometimes twice a week, because His Holiness is not teaching as much because of his age. And so they've increased these public audiences that used to be sometimes like twice a year. Now they're like twice a week. His Holiness really wants to connect with people. So the public audiences will have a couple hundred people there filing by. I mentioned this before. So Don and Jack from this center recently went to India and were part of a public audience. And so if you decide and you go to Dharamsala, don't miss that. Anyone can go. You just have to email them in advance. And on His Holiness's website, there's an email address. And then they'll let you know what day and things, and you bring your passport, and there's a lot of security, of course, and you wait, and everybody's lined up, and you get a number, and then you're lined up by your number. It's very, very organized. It's very impressive. And even to the point where they now, you're not allowed to bring a phone with you. And so everyone wants a photo, you know. So they not only have a photographer, they have two on either side of His Holiness. So they get you in two angles. And most people are blasted. So you see them going like, you know, but it's amazing. And then because of your number and your email address, I can't believe how organized they. So 2 hours after I went last November, I got an email from them again with only my photos. You know, so it's just incredible. So, and you just get that incredible blessing from this, especially if you have a lot of faith in His Holiness. For me, he's one of my teachers. So, but this incredible blessing of that pure Buddha energy. But years ago, someone I know, when I was living in Dharamsala, had an appointment and mentioned to me that you're so blasted from the purity. We're not around somebody that pure. When they left and they're walking down the hall, outside in this really simple palace where he lives. It's like just an Indian house. And they're walking, you want to turn back to catch another glimpse, like, and to make sure, is it real? And they said they turned around, and what they saw, based on their pure karma, I don't have that kind of karma, they saw a 1,000-armed Chenrezig standing there. And I believe them. I think that was, it was amazing. So that's who His Holiness said to be an emanation of, like that. So Chenrezig, and you can see if you go up later to look at the top photo, he has a lot of heads, and there's 1,000 arms around him and there's an eye inside every hand of those arms. So the eyes see all the living beings, all the suffering, and reaching out to help all of them. And at one point it said that the deity was so overwhelmed by the suffering that his head split apart into all these different faces that face different directions. And then he was so overwhelmed by the suffering, he cried, and then out of his tear, Tara sprang and said, "I'll help you." So that's Tara's energy, the liberator. And I'm going to mention a couple other things specifically about Tara. Let me just find my... Okay. So we'll be reciting in the practice her mantra, Om Tare Tu Soha, and it'll be right in the text. I'm going to share my screen with the simple practice. And every Tara of the 21 all have their own sacred sayings, their own mantras. So slightly different. The white Tara is a long life deity. Her legs are evenly, like, a sitting lotus posture. And so if you have a life obstacle, sometimes your teacher would say to do that practice, white Tara practice. And there's another practice for her, similar kind of experience of refuge, bodhicitta. They're all designed the same with a visualization. And then when you get to the point, you'd be reciting that mantra like that. And so basically it's the most common one is the Om Tare Tu Soha, invoking compassionate energy. And so she's known as the liberator, and the mantra's meaning, in a sense, and I can go back over this as well. Om is a kind of universal sound, universal sound representing body, speech, and mind. It's a sacred syllable, like that. Tare is liberation from suffering. Tutare, protection from fears, okay, fears and obstacles. Ture is liberation from disease and physical suffering. And the last word, Soha. Soha is sometimes spelled as S-V-A-A-H, A-H-A. So the Tibetans don't have V in their language. So it's proper to say Soha. You can say Svaha. Both are fine, like that. Tends to be like an amen. It's a closing to and it signifies establishing those qualities in your heart, positive qualities in your heart and mind, kind of sealing it there. Om Tare Tu Soha. So just so you have a sense of liberating, what's she liberating from? And again, a little bit more specific in my notes. Om, universal sound of creation, representing body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. Tare, again, refers to liberation from the sufferings of samsara, cyclic existence, and the cycle of death and rebirth, okay? Removal of afflictive emotions. So the cycle of death and rebirth, okay? So we have different ways we teach suffering in the middle scope of the Lam Rim. And so some of the teachers, when we're discussing, and somebody will say to me, "Oh, what are you teaching tonight?" Once I was at a center, and one of my friends who teaches said, "What are you teaching?" And so sometimes we refer to it as the 3, the 6, and the 8. That's how the sufferings are divided, and they overlap. They overlap. But we were just talking maybe with Margaret the other day or something where somebody said, and I realize it's like we were talking in the death course, that I said, you've died, infinite times before in Buddhism. That's what Buddhism teaches, because there's no beginning to your mind. There's no beginning to your mind. So we've been through death before many, many times, and we've survived it. Here we are again. So it's a different way to think about the transition. And then somebody, and me, I don't know, maybe it was Margaret, came up and said, I didn't realize, like, all those times that you die, but all the times you take rebirth again is also seen as a suffering. The birth thing, you can say it's a miracle, but there's a lot of suffering when people are born. So they often say those two sufferings are, you know, leaving a body again and again and again, and meeting with another body. Okay, but a body with contaminated aggregates, that our body and mind has not experienced a direct perception of emptiness. So as a result, ordinary state, ordinary view, and that creates a lot of suffering for us, a lot of suffering for the mind. So it's something to think about, that leaving the body again and again. We know we don't like when people die. We watch them die. It's very painful. It's very, very tormented like that. Some of them die in a lot of misery and pain, and, you know, and then you come back again to do it again. Okay, so let that fuel, instead of fear, drive it into your practice. Let it fuel your practice like that. Tutare invokes protection from the 8 fears. I'm going to talk about those in a minute. There can be both external fears and they can be internal. They represent internal things, which is the more important part of it. Ture signifies liberation from physical diseases and emotional suffering, bringing peace and well-being. We all want that. And then soha again, or svaha, so be it, in a sense, like amen. Okay, may it be so signifies establishing the root of the path and receiving these blessings in your heart. Okay, so let's get our motivation oriented in the right way. Just wanted to give you a little taste. And so what I wanted to mention is, by developing these qualities, that mantra, if you say it over and over, okay, it's not so important exactly what every syllable means. It has an inner resonance. Okay, it builds your confidence. You can always reach for that mantra. You can think of Tara in all your everyday activities, and she clears obstacles. But what happens is, we see this and we're not familiar. So we're familiar with our friends and family. So when I have an issue, I go to them. Okay, do they have a mind like Tara, do you think? Okay, so it's something you want to think about. Like, do they have an omniscient consciousness that's really focused and merged with loving kindness, all the highest level of wisdom, compassion, things like that? So they may be very good people, no question, you know, but do they have that level of realization and compassion? So she does. So why don't we get more familiar with checking in with her when you have a problem? Checking in with her. And I've mentioned this before, and I'll give you an example. So I fly a lot from traveling to the centers, and sometimes you have turbulence on the plane. It's really common. So you have turbulence. Sometimes it gets really bad, the turbulence. So around you in the plane, some people you can see people get upset. You know, you hope you don't get to the point where the plane people start screaming and crying, but it happens sometimes, right? So when that happens, think about your mind and what you're emitting to other people. So when that happens, other people get more stressed. You don't like to hear people crying and screaming and in distress. I don't think anybody really likes that, right? So what happens is, if you can keep your mind balanced, and if I can think about my teachers or think about Tara as an emanation of the Buddha, as an emanation of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I'd rather have that in my heart and mind filling me up. The turbulence is the turbulence, nothing I can do about it. But let me call on that. And sometimes there's 21 Taras. So I have them all around the plane, around the wings. You know, we got you, girl. Like, so why not play with it a little bit, where it lightens the mind up. It lightens the mind up. Again, this is a path to enlightenment, not inheaviment. So anything that you can call on that just relieves a little bit. And then people say, so that's why we say mantras sometimes. That's why we say mantras. So years ago, I was in a bad earthquake in San Francisco, and excuse me. And I was in an office with 30 people, my coworkers, and it was an open air office. So the offices weren't closed. You could hear everybody. And so some people were screaming and really freaked out. So again, when I was talking to my Dharma friends in there, my Buddhist friends later, people were saying, what were you doing at the time of the earthquake? And what did you think? And a lot of people said, oh, I was saying mantras. So if the building comes down in your head, I'd rather be saying a mantra than some of the other things my coworkers were saying at the time that I could hear them saying, So you want to think about what are you familiarizing your mind with? And it takes training. So this is a path, takes effort, training, and think about what you are trained in now, what your habits are, what you're used to. Are they always benefiting you and others? Right? Some of our habits don't like that. Okay, so this is one way we get our mind going in the right direction is our motivation. Okay. So let's take a moment. Any activity, you can set that motivation. Just find a comfortable position for your body. You can lightly close your eyes. And again, being practical. So if you're sleepy, let a little light in. And if you're very distracted, then lightly close your eyes. Feel the extension of your spine. And if you're in a chair, no problem at all to meditate. Sitting in a chair, just have your feet straight down flat on the floor or on a cushion under your feet. Check the position of your hands, right palm on the left, facing up. Thumbs are pressed together and it's right against your body, so it holds the body very erect. Because this is a posture about waking up. The lips are lightly together. The teeth are slightly apart, with the tongue curled to touch the upper palate in the mouth, behind the front teeth. Just experiment. You try your best. 7-point Vairocana posture. And allow a normal, natural breath to move through your system. So that's the posture of the body. What about the posture of the mind? How's your mind today? So you're just observing for a moment. How are you feeling right now? Just gently observe. And a way to better orient our mind, if we're not comfortable with what we're observing, is to set a good motivation. And if we do like what we're seeing, great. We can further enhance that, once again, with the motivation. So in this tradition, we're very focused on benefiting all living beings, trying to help all living beings as much as we can. And as humans, we're limited. But as a Buddha, as a fully enlightened being, we're unlimited. And we're blissful all the time wanting to do that. So what if we could gather some information today, sharpen some of our practice techniques, maybe get a little bit more motivated to do more practice, and all of it with this intention that these activities help us move along a path to full enlightenment, that we will get there as soon as we can on our own individual paths, but for the real purpose of benefiting all living beings. So if you like that idea, please include it right now in your motivation and take a moment to set that intention. So to aid our meditation today, our practice, there's many pranayama breathing practices we can do. So let's do a version of the 9 round breathing. And it's like alternate nostril breathing. I like to start with an exhalation. So we're going to begin exhaling deeply through the left nostril. So if you like, you can close off the right. And as you inhale, close off the left, inhaling deeply through the right nostril. And as you do this, imagine you're lessening anger and hatred in your mind stream 3 times. And then we reverse. So we're going to exhale deeply through the right nostril. You can close off the left. And then as you inhale, close off the right nostril, inhaling deeply through the left. And we'll do that 3 times, countering attachment and desire in our mind. Our last round, we'll exhale through both nostrils. Inhale through both nostrils. And feel that you are lessening confusion and ignorance in your mind 3 times. And just allow the mind now to settle on a normal, natural breath. You just follow that air coming in the nostrils, expansion of the lungs, maybe shifting of the abdomen. And then upon an exhalation, the contraction of that and the air up and out the nostrils. So in your dealing with the external reality of our world, but it also depends how you deal with it based on your internal reality, your body and mind. So much is created by our thoughts. So much of our experience, internal and external, comes from the mind, is what Tibetan Buddhism says. It comes from our mind. So one of the biggest helps for you to deal with all of these things in a more balanced way, which is what we want, which is what most of us want, is to just have that sitting practice. So you can sit down and be still. We need to find some comfort in the quiet, in the stillness, to have a look at our mind. So the breath, the breathing meditation is simply just a little bit of settling there. It's not the main meditation we do in this tradition, but certainly helpful. You feel stressed during the day? The breath is always there. Just take a deeper breath. Just be with the inhalation for a moment, and you be with the exhalation for a moment. And what that does is it can open up perspective in your mind. Perspective, a broader perspective, helps you to see a frightful, stressful situation more clearly. It supports you deciding what is possible for you to do about the situation. It helps you clarify what is not possible for you to do in a situation and let it go rather than ruminating. So you have to train your mind. The beginning is to look at your mind. And to look at your mind gently, without judgment. And why gently and without judgment? How do we train ourselves to incorporate those 2 words? Gently, non-judgmentally, if we're not feeling good about ourselves. because you're a sentient being, just like everyone else. So when we set a motivation to become a Buddha, to benefit all living beings, that includes you. That includes you. You are worthy of goodness, respect, kindness, caring, and you have many good qualities. So the beginning of the practice, if you're not aware of some of those situations about yourself, some of the goodness, is to every day start noticing that in a balanced way. You're good enough. You have Buddha nature. Doesn't mean you're a Buddha. It means you have the potential to be a fully realized being. And because of that seed, that potential in you, it means you're fundamentally good. Celebrate that in a balanced way. So just considering these thoughts, you inhale, you're fundamentally good. You exhale, I'm fundamentally good. Or put it into your own words. And you're not convinced, or that's one of your biggest obstacles, holding yourself to be less than you are, then you need to meditate on the beginning of the Lam Rim, precious human rebirth. It's one of the more critical ones for, I think, for Westerners to focus on. Precious human rebirth. So that's another class. What I'd like you to do right now is just imagine Tara in the space in front of you, this emerald green goddess. She's about 6 inches in height, facing you, few feet in front of you, slightly higher than the level of your head. She sits on a beautiful lotus flower opened and a moon disk on top of that lying flat like a moon cushion supporting her. Moon cushion is relative bodhicitta, just like our motivation, that enlightened attitude, what wishing to get enlightened to benefit all living beings. Her left leg is drawn in to show she has control over sexual energy and desire, one of the 3 poisons in the mind, desire, attachment. Her right leg is extended out because she's ready to jump up and help all living beings. She's like enlightened energy. Her left hand is at her heart, holding the stem of a beautiful flower that is up by her left ear. Her right hand is down, extended out by her right knee, holding the stem of another flower that also the beautiful petals up by her right ear. And the palm is extended out as if she's granting realizations and blessings to all beings, freeing them from suffering. Radiant smile on her face, and she's draped in beautiful silks, adorned with many jewels. Arya Tara, Arya, noble Tara, Tara the liberator. So just feel she's there throughout our practice all day. Just feeling that energy there in front. Let's go back to our minds. You just want to notice for a moment now, what's arising in your mind right now? Look at the thoughts, experiences. Can you notice how much of them are swimming, those thoughts and experiences, swimming around the notion of yourself more solidly, existent sense of I, me? Can you feel that solidity a little bit? Sense of yourself. Doesn't it dominate most of our thoughts, most of our activities? So there is a conventional I, conventional self that is sitting in this room, participating in today's program. So that exists in a relative sense, relative truth. And relative, it relies on other things in order to exist. It depends on other things in order to exist. Yourself depends on your body and mind, that relative self. But relative means it's in relation to all other things. It's in relation. Is that the way you feel yourself? Is that the way the I rises? Arising independence on other things, like your body and mind. So if you get a sense of a dominant, unchanging, independent, existing with its own character from its own side, that I doesn't exist at all. According to Tibetan Buddhism, that I is a complete hallucination, does not exist at all. Some of you have done these meditations before, considering emptiness, thinking about emptiness, this lack of that dominant. Once again, dominant, unchanging, independent sense of yourself. That's how we go through time and space mostly. Dominant, independent, unchanging, with its own character. That I doesn't exist at all. Emptiness means it's absence of that. Sorry, it's absent of that. Doesn't have that nature. But we don't experience it like that. We feel it does, and that's the source of all of our problems. Grasping onto that mistake, that misknowing of the I, misknowing of reality. So once again, Conventionally, you're here in the room, no problem. You are here and you need to take care of yourself, but within reason. So when problems arise, if I can just poke a little bit with any understanding I have of emptiness, any understanding I have of this lack of inherent nature, a lack of a solid, concretized nature of myself, of a certain situation, and of anyone involved in the situations. Karma is unfolding every moment that causes me to see things and experience things in a certain way. That's life in samsara. That's reality. So I've done some wonderful things in life and in past lives, and that will cause pleasure to appear. Great. But sometimes something else appears, suffering. Small sufferings, big sufferings. So best to start working with the small sufferings, be able to handle those. Realize it comes from past deeds in with my body, speech, and mind. So I'm not blaming myself. I'm just going to keep looking at my mind to further enhance the better qualities, have those shining through more and more, and the negative tendencies, I'm going to work and clean them up till they're no longer there. And then the suffering goes. So again, the dominant sense of your I appears. You can get a hold of that for a moment. And I just want you to consider that I does not exist at all. It's a complete hallucination. Yet, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche would say, yet you trust that. Every day, every moment, you trust that. That is a complete hallucination. So just think about that tendency in your mind that simply exists there because you don't have a direct perception of emptiness. Previous moment in your mind of ignorance. Previous moment in your mind. When I say ignorance, I mean you're not stupid. I simply mean a misknowing of reality. Misexperiencing reality. Imputing a true, concrete nature on everything. That's all that's happening. So we can work on it. And Tara will help us. But just consider for today, as much as you can, especially in meditation, if you think that I does not exist at all, if you touch a spaciousness and absence that's there, it's a not finding of that I. You let it go for a moment. Focus on that absence for a moment. There's no I there. Meaning an inherently existent I. That I does not exist. Please relax and slowly open your eyes. So just as a structure for today, we will take a break in this session, and then we're going to break for lunch around 12:30. That's okay. So it will be a short break. You can go to the bathroom like 15, 20 minutes, but then we'll stop at 12:30 for about an hour. I think we just need an hour for lunch.
There's 2 hour parking, so people that came early or at 10, they have to go out and pay or redo their parking.
Okay, so does it have to be right at noon or like, will they? Or,
They can move in the back.
Yes,
Only the
that-
front is 2 hours. Only in front of the building is 2 hours.
Oh, well, I could only find a space down there.
yeah, and we were in a
2
2 hour
hours, and I had
slot,
to
I think it's,
register my parking.
yeah, because it always says 2 hours. So
But there's
do they
nobody-
give you a leeway or do they give tickets right at noon or?
Yeah,
They do give tickets.
They do. Okay, so we can stop at noon and take a break then, and then,
Center is okay. The center of it's only by the teal that is the 2 hours.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Give me
There's
some
no
of them,
park
yeah.
in the space. You can-
some of them are marked, yeah.
They've good that.
I didn't know how strict it was, so you think it's strict that they do ticket, okay. Okay,
Not at noon, it's probably 2 hours from when you started, so they probably marked the tires and then.
right,
So people came at 9:30, it's.
Or maybe not so much during this market situation.
I wonder, it didn't seem to be a big problem last week, so what do you want to do then? I'm happy to do whatever you need to do if you want to take a break at, what time would it be, 11:30 to repark or something?
That sounds good.
Okay, so why don't we do this? We'll do an 11:30 break for you to go repark, go to the bathroom. But then we'll do lunch at 12:30. Is that okay?
Mhm.
12:30 to 1:30, then we'll come back, if that's okay. Okay,
Perfect. And we're ending at 4 then?
I thought it was 4:30. Is it 4:30? 4:30? Yeah,
Okay.
Well,
Well, that was with an hour and a half for lunch. They made it 4:30, but.
I don't think we need an hour and a half for lunch, so,
No, I thought that was with
oh,
what we
do
had.
you want to end earlier? I mean,
No,
I don't think-
I was just wondering.
are you okay? Yeah, no, I think 4:30 will be okay. We can see where we are at that point, if that's okay for everybody. Okay, okay, so we're in retreat. We're not having conversations now. Yeah, if we can pull the energy, thank you. Great, thank you. Yeah, so as far as I know, we'll go till 4:30 if that's okay, but we just didn't need the long lunch break. There's always so much to get in, so if you're okay with that, or we can end earlier if you want to do that. Okay, let me talk a little bit about what does Tara, what are the fears? You okay?
I'm sorry, I thought we were taking a break. That's,
No, 11:30.
okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
No worries. You're fine. Thank you.
I don't know about that.
Very safe.
You don't know about,
Being fine.
Oh. I think you're fine, Margaret. Let me just find my, get my longer text of. Sorry, I had this, I thought I had, here we go. Here we go. Okay. What are the 8 fears? Tara protects you, they say, from 8 fears. What are the 8 fears? So again, they're external fear related to an internal fear. So she protects you from lions. Okay, now we're not really coming in contact with a lot of wild lions. This last time I checked. I don't know your experience, but lions represent pride. They represent, it's funny how they often talk about a pride of lions as well, but so it's a good way to remember that lions can represent pride. So it counters pride if that's one of your big delusions. So again, we've been talking for over a week about countering imbalances in the mind, and we call those delusion in Tibetan Buddhism, afflictive emotions, like that. Pride is one of them. Pride is one of the 6 root delusions, by the way. So when I mention some of these delusions, we've got 3 poisons again. 3 poisons starts with 3 poisons. What's the fundamental delusion? Ignorance. Thank you. Ignorance.
Anger.
And then you have anger and aversion or hatred. And the other one, attachment, desire. Those are the 3 poisons. 3 poisons. Then you have 3 additional root delusions. Pride is one of those. Then you have doubt and wrong views, holding wrong views. Okay. So again, when I mention these things, you also then end up with molting of the delusions, jealousy, anxiety. I'll put anxiety, worry, and fear all in one category. Depression, laziness, forgetfulness, procrastination, stuff like that. Even busyness, a certain kind of busyness is a delusion where you're just escaping, not having to do your practice. So you're constantly busy, like that, over and over. Okay. So when I mention these, some of them pop out for you stronger than others. Then you go after those first. Some people are arrogant, haughty, pride. Okay. Okay. Another thing she protects you from, wild elephants. I don't know if we're subject to a lot of wild elephants. Wild elephants represent delusion and ignorance. So that root, delusion and ignorance in general. Ignorance causes delusions, like that. And it was so cute. Many years ago, I was in South India going to these teachings with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And some of us were staying at one monastery. And then in the morning, we would drive over in a little minibus with Geshe Nawang Drakpa from the San Francisco Center, dear teacher, incredible being. He's in his 90s, still teaching these days. And we would drive over with him to go to these teachings that were, I don't know, like a half an hour away drive. And it was a sea of maroon, because mostly it was monks and nuns attending, and many lay people. So what we would do is we'd drive over, but you'd see a lot of monks and nuns were camping. There were big tented areas because the monastery where it was held was very small, very little housing. So they were either decided they wanted to stay nearby, they had tents, some were in very low end, like there wasn't many Indian hotels there. It was very kind of rural area. So they were in these makeshift hotels and things, and then other people were just driving in, busing in, taxis, buses, like that. But it was beautiful. It was like a sea of maroon. So you'd see these monks and nuns coming across the hillside from their tent areas, walking to the teaching in this direction of the buses, and that people getting out of the vehicles and walking. It was great. I always love those things. But so we were watching in the bus, and it's like sun is coming up, beautiful, the fields. It's an area where there's a lot of wild elephants. Karnataka is that state of South India. And we're watching, and then we're looking, and we see in the distance, we just see the maroon people. You couldn't really make out each one, but they were running this way. But then they turn, and then you see them running this way. Right. And then we're like, what's happening? The teachings of what's happening. And there was a wild elephant cutting across the field, not charging them, not just a big male that was cutting across the field, just kind of eating his way and just walking. And they just wanted to make sure they were clear of the path of that elephant. And then he would like turn directions, and then they would turn and run the other way. And when I saw it, that elephant was my first wild elephant I ever saw. And you've been in zoos and you see elephants, which is a terrible place to keep elephants. They're too big for, and they often have a chain on the leg. And I saw them at some Indian temples too. Indian temples will have one, they have a keeper, and they walk them around and people feed them, and but they're not free in those situations. And so when I saw this elephant, it was like a completely new animal that I had never seen an elephant before. Because the wild ones, it just had a completely different manifestation than the elephants I had seen in zoos and stuff like that, and at the temples. And it's beautiful thing, just in all its glory. It's incredible. So wild elephants represent ignorance. Okay. So she protects you from that. She protects you from forest fires. So this is a real thing in our reality, especially if you live in California and dry places. Forest fires represent hatred, one of the three poisons. She protects you from snakes that represent jealousy. She protects you from robbers that represent wrong views. So this goes right down the main delusions. And that's what we want to be protected from. She protects you from prisons that represent greed and miserliness. She protects you from floods, which is a real thing here in Florida, that represents desire and attachment. Protects you from that internal delusion, desire and attachment. And the last one is she protects you from demons, which represent delusion in general. So those are the 8 fears when they talk about like that. And so again, we have many deities that help protect us. Some people choose with illness, mental or physical, to reach for medicine Buddha. So 7 versions of the medicine Buddha, 7 emanations of them. And again, there's a practice you can do that takes about 45 minutes to read in English, right? It's pretty easy to read. And you read the names of all the Buddhas and you visualize them absorbing from the very top one you start with first, dissolves in the next slowly. You can learn from the center how to do that. You can learn online, and you can do it over anybody that's ill. Put the medicine Buddhas over them, read the practice, and then recite some of the mantras. Right? If you don't have time, recite the mantras, imagining the rays of light going into the person, going into yourself, put them over your crown. You can do all together, kind of a visualization of yourself in front of you, anyone else you want to pray for, dissolving. And even if a person has died and they're across the world from you, you can do the practice, visualizing them. Okay. So, but better to even do the practice once in a while rather than just the mantras. A little bit more powerful. Medicine Buddha. People reach for Vajrasattva to purify. Great, no problem. So we're going to look at our practice, Tara practice. This is a black and white line drawing you can see, but obviously in the center we have this beautiful, she is emerald green. When you do the visualizations, you want to visualize everything in the nature of light. It's better for light. Everything is in the nature of light. And we'll talk about different syllables, and that's why the syllables can exist, because she's in the nature of light. There's nothing solid. So around her, you see 21 versions of her, all little Taras in this picture. And they're different colors. Okay, so you can actually read about those different Taras. Each one has its own sacred saying, its own mantra, like that. Some are wrathful too. So sometimes you need a little bit stronger energy to kind of go against a delusion like that. It's not that they're harmful or bad or things like that. Occasionally there will be a temple or something you can see that has life-size Tara statues. There's one in Lhasa in the Jokhang Cathedral. There's like a little Tara room you go into, and there's 2 levels of these life-size Tara statues. And you'll see some are with fangs. You know, they hold their hands in different postures. They hold different things, different expressions, and they all represent countering some negativity in your mind, in the world that disturbs your mind, or in your mind that creates it in the world, like that. There's also a temple on the way to Lhasa. If you come in from the airport, you can stop, and they have life-size Tara statues there. And I'm sure there's some in the West, in Western countries like that. There are some beautiful statues as well. I just was thinking, I was teaching once at one of our retreat centers in Spain, and up above, they have beautiful property over on a hillside overlooking Ling, one of our famous retreat centers there. And up on the hill, they created when I visited before, they didn't have it. And then I came back and there's a pond and they have this incredible Taurus statue there that really blew me out. And then if you go to another center in France outside Toulouse, Institute Vajrayogini, they have just a room with an incredible Taurus statue at the end, like a room like this size. And at that end, they had this glorious Taurus statue like that. So there's some centers have, and some centers have gotten, something you could get here is they have the small Taurus statues, this big, and they have 21 of them on a wall in their thing with a green tar maybe in the center, a bigger one, bigger statue, and really beautiful, and then they'll do sometimes weekly tar praises. We'll do some of that today. So just to give you an idea, you want to expand your mind. Anything's possible. Lama Zopa Rinpoche was all about that. The things that he did, the practices he did. And then initially, he'd be getting some large statue and you kind of go, why? Why spend all the money on that when you can feed people? But obviously some benefit in having it. And again, seeing the actual Buddha there in the statue, making offerings to that Buddha, doing practices to that emanation has an effect, has a really positive effect. I'm more convinced more and more after watching Rinpoche do certain practices and things like that to see. So again, it takes time for us to develop the faith and things. So at least we can do practices like this. There's different ways to do this practice, and this does include some meditation on the Lam Rim, like that. But sometimes people don't have time, so they can shortcut. But again, don't always miss the Lam Rim meditation. It's really important. So here it starts out with a glance meditation on the Lam Rim. Graduated path is Lam Rim. Lam is path. Rim, stages, gradual steps on the path. And then it talks about refuge, but how to have prayer for success in the Dharma. Let's just start with some of this. We'll go through this in parts. So think about refuge. So when you read these prayers and you start in, okay, you want to really consider what is this? What is refuge? Okay, it's shelter for you from more suffering. In Buddhism, it's protection from suffering. Okay, so what do you have in your life? Seriously, what protects you from suffering in your life? Anybody? I'm curious.
Having a home,
Having a home. Having a home. What else protects you from suffering?
3 jewels.
3 jewels. Okay, so we'd say in Buddhism, the 3 jewels are what really protects you. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. That really protects you from suffering. Okay, but people might say, well, having a home, having a partner, but really when big suffering comes, do they really protect you? Sometimes people are washed away in their home. Earthquake, it falls down in your head. So you really want to get accurate with what really protects you. We do need a place to live. Your mind protects you. Okay, but your mind gets you into trouble too, right? When I'm not thinking properly. So what if I reach for, in Buddhism, we really take refuge in the 3 jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. But you want to explore their qualities so that you develop faith that I'm going to reach for that. Meaning when I reach for them, I'm going to say certain mantras. I'm going to think of them first, call on them, reach for my practice. Okay, that always makes me feel better, generally. That becomes kind of a resource. And then you want to deepen that. Okay, in this tradition, we deepen it with an understanding of the Lam Rim, with meditation on emptiness, with doing certain deity practices. So as they deepen, and my understanding of the Lam Rim deepens, that's a resource. Then I have a problem in my life, and I just turn to one of the topics of the Lam Rim and go, okay, wait, what did it say? They do, but that becomes a little bit more merged with your mind. So you don't have to open books. You can kind of say, oh yeah, that's right. They said this is one of the sufferings. Well, why is this a surprise for me? Or this is samsara's nature. So let me give up my clinging to samsara. Let me give up some of that, right? I'm freer, right? And let me figure out, how do I give up some of my clinging to samsara? Is do more practice. That frees me. That gives me more resources. So you slowly put your practice together like that. Okay? But some of the things we reach for with refuge, it's not really a refuge. It's not a proper refuge for you. falls apart. It doesn't last, doesn't really help, creates more clinging, more aversion, maybe like that. So let's read this verse, refuge, with some feeling, really thinking. I take refuge in the Holy Guru, essence of all Buddhas, original grantor of all holy teachings and Lord of all supreme beings. So we say guru, we get a little scared by that word in the West. It's like,
Move that.
oh yes, sorry. You know, I can't move it on my screen. It's not on my screen. Is there a way to?
You can minimize it.
Oh, I see it here.
No.
Yeah, it's not, I
Just copy
can't.
it, Chip.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got it.
Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful. There we go.
Good.
And can you just sweep that to the bottom of the page so it's off the, that's what I did with mine, but I couldn't do it on the. You can just remove it. Yeah, if you go all the way down, it'll, there we go. That's great. It'll take it away. Yeah, thank you so much. So guru, we get a little nervous, like somebody's taking over my mind, okay? But it really means spiritual teacher. We've talked about it before in here. Virtuous friend. Lama Zopa Rinpoche used virtuous friend. This is my highest level friend. Right? We turn to friends for all kinds of things, and you tend to go to a friend when you have a problem that you feel is more stable, right? Wiser. They're very interested in your well-being. Like those are so the virtuous friend is the highly enlightened, somebody like that. So the more you have some experience around these teachers, which is a little harder to do today, but you still can do, right? You really get a sense of how much they care about you, how much they want you to be free, ultimately free. That's a real guru, but that's external. So they showed up like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, like Lama Zopa Rinpoche. They showed up in a form that our karma allows us to connect with. Because we can't see the Buddha, right? I don't know your experience, but most people can't really experience the Buddha. Like when they see this, they don't see a Buddha there. Okay. So as a result, certain beings showed up as a teacher, because that's a way of the karma to see and experience like that. So we're fortunate, at least we can see that. Because sometimes I've noticed in airports, when I traveled with a very, very high level teacher, Kirti Senchab Rinpoche, when I traveled with him in airports around the world, I noticed that walking through airports, we were looking like this, dressed like this. So it was Rinpoche, his main attendant, another Rinpoche, and me. And I noticed some people never even saw us, walked right by, just no karma. You know, some people were a little bit afraid. They'd see us and they'd be like, you know, what's that? And then some people, we were waiting in a waiting room, and one guy rushes over, drops to his knees in front of Rinpoche, like this. Incredible devotion. So that's coming from his mind. Because same manifestation out there, coming from his mind. So we have that external representation. But ultimately, the guru, okay, is the highest level of your own loving kindness, wisdom, compassion, all your good qualities fully manifest. Okay, absolute guru, what I call it. Okay, it's the truth body of the Buddha, Dharmakaya, with Tantra, Dharmakaya, truth body of the Buddha. This is all that external guru wants you to connect with. So what they're doing is they're guiding you, giving you some advice at times, leading meditations, showing you how to tame your mind, okay, till that fully manifests your own inner, deepest level of your inner wisdom, compassion, all your good qualities. Make sense, everybody with me? Okay, prayer for success in Dharma practice. So feel free if you want to read. Please, Guru Buddhas, bestow on me the ability to unify my mind with the Dharma and be successful in practicing Dharma in order to achieve the graduated path. May no hindrances occur while achieving this path. Okay. And then we come to lower capable being of the Lam Rim. So you'll recognize some of the topics that weave through this. Please bless me to realize that I've received a perfect human rebirth, which is highly meaningful, for many reasons difficult to obtain, but perishable, transient, and fragile, decaying in the shortest moment because of its changeable nature. Thus, my death is definite, but its actual time is most indefinite. And after death, I am far more likely to be reborn in the lower suffering realms having created infinitely more negative than positive karma in this life and all previous lives. Please bless me to comprehend how incredibly unendurable is the suffering of the lower realms, that I might take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha with all my heart and realize the evolution of karma in all its profundity, that I might perform only virtuous actions and abandon all negative creations. So these are additional verses to this practice that Lama Zopa Rinpoche's added, so that we would a little bit more consider merges with our mind. When you have more time, you've already been doing Lam Rim meditation, studying Lam Rim, so you catch all the topics in there, okay? Now, middle capacity being. So build on a motivation. This is the way the Lam Rim's set up. Lower, middle, higher capacity, based on your motivation. So the lower capable being, what we just read through, there is usually most of us, we're terrified that when we die, something worse is going to happen. Something worse is going to happen to us. So you have topics in here of first, the buoyant cushion of your practice, precious human rebirth. Then death and impermanence, is situations quickly passing away. That's what it just said in the verse. Number 3, when it passes away, I could go to lower realms. Well, that's a pile of suffering. We don't want that. So that scares you a little bit. Okay. Don't let the fear paralyze you. Drive it into your practice. It's to motivate you. I gotta get going. You know, I have every opportunity to do something now, right? Because I already had mentioned precious human rebirth. That lights you up, but you need to understand precious human rebirth. Read it. 8 freedoms, 10 richnesses. Meditate one by one on those. Then you feel good. Then you want to practice. You realize I've got every perfect situation now. Meditate on the rarity of that precious human rebirth. Then you're going to want to practice more. Okay. But 8 freedoms, 10 richnesses, and all of that meditation, it's a counter to anxiety and depression. So if that's your thing, then meditate on precious human rebirth. Okay. Many people ask me in classes, what's an antidote? Depression, anxiety. I suffer from depression, anxiety. It's very common now in the States. It's one of our biggest plagues, it seems. Many people suffer from it. So they've been Dharma practitioners, and I go, meditate on precious human rebirth. And they go, okay, but they never do. So they go to the doctor, they take more medication, more problems, more things. Sometimes medication can help a little bit with certain things, but don't intend to be on it the rest of your life. If you can shift that, especially with depression and anxiety. You can challenge that, change that with your mind, okay? So then we have lower realms, right? And then what am I going to do if I'm afraid I don't want to end up in a lower realm? You take refuge. You know. So what am I reaching for the right things in refuge? Am I clear about Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, their qualities? And then once I take refuge, the sacred door through which the teaching is entered, they say, okay, then I need to know how to conduct myself. Karma. So then you'll learn the 10 non-virtues, avoid those slowly, like that. Great. So that's all lower capacity. And then build on that motivation that I don't want things to be worse. We come to the middle capable being. Middle capable being is, I don't want to suffer anymore. You know, I realize all that stuff. I'm committed to ending my suffering and reaching nirvana, liberation, which is a permanent cessation of all your mental afflictions. So all the different types of ways we suffer is in this particular scope of the Lam Rim. So let's read. By practicing in this way, I will be reborn in the upper realms, but will still have to experience unlimited samsaric suffering because of uncontrolled delusion and karma. Please bless me to realize fully the evolution of samsara from uncontrolled rebirth to death to rebirth, and to follow day and night the 3 higher trainings of the path: higher conduct, higher concentration, and higher wisdom, which are the main methods to release me from samsara. So the teachings that come in this scope, also are the 12 links of dependent arising that teach you how do you end up coming back again and again in samsara. It's very, very nice teaching. And then build on that motivation. I realized, well, it would be great if I'm free of suffering. I'm committed to that, okay? But what about all the other beings still suffering? Can you really sleep well at night Okay, so then comes the bodhicitta motivation, okay? That I really want to become a Buddha to help lead all of them to the end of their suffering, okay? So let's read Sutra Path. But as each sentient being has been my mother, and as most of them are in extreme suffering, please bless me to bring success to all by renouncing the perfect happiness of self and practicing the Bodhisattva's deeds of the six perfections with a Bodhisattva's mind of exchanging self with others on the basis of equanimity meditation. Thus shall I have no sorrow in experiencing the samsaric suffering of all other sentient beings for no matter how long, having trained my mind in the general path. So I'm really committed to this path, whatever I have to endure to get enlightened to benefit all living beings. And then talking about Tantra, please bless me to follow the quick Vajrayana teachings by feeling sentient beings suffering, very unimaginably unbearable for even the shortest moment, as my own, and to achieve the attainment of Shakyamuni Buddha immediately at this very moment by keeping my ordinations and the instructions of the Guru with the best and highest care in life for the sole purpose of enlightenment, of enlightening all sentient beings. So again, if you don't have time and you like this Tara practice daily, you can skip that. But maybe some of you have done a short practice called, I'm just talking about how to set up a practice that benefits us so we have a more positive experience in life right now, especially with what's going on with the planet at all, and just living in samsara. You can always feel balanced and buoyant by the nature of these practices. So some people, and I mentioned on the sheet I had asked Anthony and Don to send out, it's just some suggestions of ways to get a practice started or enhance your practice. Okay? There's many different ways you can do, and there's many different types of Buddhism. So you have to find what works for you, okay? But this is a little bit more traditional of Lama Zopa Rinpoche's method. And it starts with, the first text on there is the method to transform a suffering life into happiness. Well, isn't that what we want? Right? So all it is it starts with the scanning verses of the Lam Rim. Very similar to this. So some of you were, if you've already done that first thing in the morning, you know, now maybe you have more time and you go, well, I want to remember. Maybe you start some Lam Rim meditation here. Either way, don't have time, then we visualize. Okay, let's just look at this visualization. So, and you can just relax and visualize if you'd like to close your eyes for a moment, or you can just, you know, read what I'm reading along. But above the crown of your head is a lotus and a moon disc. Okay, and above these, right above your crown, you can just leave the Tara out there if you like. She's always informing all of our stuff. Above my crown, just 6 inches in height, I've got a lotus and a moon disc. Okay, and then above these sits Aryatara. Okay, emerald green goddess. Here it says, Mother of all enlightened beings, who is oneness with my kind root Guru. In your own practice, if you do this enough, you don't need to read all the words. You just visualize her. You know now. You're familiar. You can think about the details. And here it talks about my Guru is seated in the full lotus position within a transparent bubble of rainbow light. And because here it says, she's oneness with my kind root Guru, over top your crown. And you go, I don't have a root Guru. I don't have a root teacher. I don't have a teacher. So think of the Buddha, if that works for you. Think of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, right? She's one. So you're visualizing Tara, or you can visualize the Guru, but they're one, just one being over top your crown. Visualize the Buddha, visualize Lama Zopa Rinpoche. That's fine. Okay. And it'll say, my Guru is seated, full lotus position, okay, within a transparent bubble of rainbow colored light, pink in complexion, saffron robes like a monk. Okay. Pandit's hat is like the yellow hat of Lama Tsongkhapa. If you look over to the left, he's got a yellow coned kind of hat going up. So you could visualize like that. Okay. His right hand at his heart in the gesture of teaching. Okay. Holds a Vajra. The right hand representing method, bodhicitta, always holds the Vajra. Okay. The left hand holds the bell generally. Okay. But it holds a stem of a white lotus flower, just like Tara behind next to his right ear. His left hand is on his hip, holds a bell. Okay. And the stem of another white lotus that blooms beside his left ear. So I was describing a slightly different visualization. because she's got her right leg. So this is just visualizing this guru, just the way they describe. He's got a white lotus here by the left ear, blooms by his left ear. So he's over top. So you visualize His Holiness Dalai Lama, Shakyamuni Buddha, Lama Zopa Rinpoche. At the heart of that being is Tara, emerald green goddess, little tiny Tara at their heart. So it's more powerful having this double being right there, right? She's green in color, seated in the dance. So she's seated just like this in the picture I described, like the black and white picture we had at the beginning of this practice. Okay, they call it dancing posture. Within a rainbow bubble, like a halo, multicolored light, right? Her left leg again bent up, right is outstretched. I explain what that is. Her left hand is at her heart. This is different than the left hand at the heart. Mudra symbolizing the triple gem. Don't worry so much about all the hand symbols, just at her heart. And she's holding the stem of a blue upali flower that's up by her left ear. Right hand extended over her right knee. Okay, it's a mudra of granting sublime realizations. She's beautifully adorned. I mentioned all that. Ornaments, scarves. Right. And now at her 3 places, because she's in the nature of light, I've got 3 syllables. Om, Ah, Hong. Om, Ah, Hong. If you look to the right of the text, there's Om, Ah, Hong. The first 3 syllables on the right. Om, Ah, Hong. And the bottom one is her seed syllable, Tam, T-A-M. And you can download this practice from the FPMT shop like that. So again, if you don't memorize, if you don't know what the syllables look like Tibetan, that's okay. For Om, you think about a white OM standing upright. White OM standing upright. Okay. And 3 places. So the white OM is at her forehead, like her crown. OM in the nature of white light. Okay. At her throat, a red Ah, A-H. Or look at the Ah syllable. A-H. Red in color in the nature of red light. At her heart, a blue Hung. H-U-N-G or H-U-M. Okay. And then also at her heart, there's a little lotus flower. Okay. And on top of the lotus is a little moon cushion, a little moon disc. Tiny heart. And she's at the heart of the guru. Okay. So you just try your best to let the visualization. And in the center of that little moon cushion at her heart is a green syllable Tom standing upright in the nature of green light, emerald green light. Okay. And then you have rays of green light start to emanate from the Tom, okay, comes out of all the pores of her body, okay, to the 10 directions. And what it's doing is it's pulling in all that enlightened energy back into her. So it kind of fully energizes her. Let's make this heartfelt prayer. Please remain above my head until I receive enlightenment. Okay. Then we come to what's the standard normal practice. We're going to take a break there to move our cars, and you're going to move your car, go to the bathroom, have a cup of tea, and there she is at the top of your head. Don't lose sight of her. She's going to help you move your car and find the perfect parking space. But this is what we do is like bring her into it. It makes it more fun, your life. When you have a problem, talk to her. Please help me. She delivers. She delivers. Okay, but again, we don't have a lot of faith in that. Okay. Let's take 15, 20-minute break. Okay. Okay. So again, in the break, we're not going to blah, blah. We're in retreat. So we're not going to have ordinary conversation. Of course, if you need to ask somebody something, but let's keep it focused on what we're talking about, or you can remain in silence. Thank you.
Did you say we can get a copy of that practice?
You can download it from the FPMT site.
Okay.
So fpmt.org.
Right,
Go to the shop
yeah.
and then search on the Tara practices, and you can find there's different Tara practices. So you
I
can
like that one.
yeah. So you can have a look through to make sure you have the right one, or you can ask them which one has this kind of thing. Yeah. Because this one is called the one I have is that I'm teaching off of. Let me get you the right name of it. I'm not allowed to really just distribute. You have to go through them. That's why I can't just, give it out to people. Let me just find the right practice. The one I have, it's called It's a short green Tara, and it's C5. It has a code on it, C, the letter C, the number 5
Okay.
is this particular version, and it's a Tara green short practice like that. So you could ask them specifically. I think you can download a lot of them for free now.
Yeah, of course.
I was wondering, is there anything I could get you for lunch?
I think Becky brought us out.
So anything special to drink that you'd like?
No, I'm good with the water. And yeah,
Oh, okay, thank you.
thank you so much. So sweet. Thank you, my dear.
Sure.
Oh,
I'm kidding, I can see the screen, but when that is over.
oh, I'm sorry. No,
It's just a matter of moving.
Make fun.
So I know that maybe I can give you one week.
You said the matter, but like what you say.
And he's so lovable.
Oh.
Where they
Mhm.
live.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're nearby.
The what?
They're nearby.
I'm sorry.
They're nearby. Where do they live?
Oh, they're nearby. Okay.
Like that.
She lives off of Commercial.
I do.
Yeah, but, you know, she
Very
took him
helpful.
to the vet, got his nails cut, he's healthy, he's neutered, he's everything. Let me give this to you.
I don't know how much I can help, but here,
I'm going to keep touch with,
that's
You're going
expensive.
through what?
with,
This one.
Me too.
Yeah, just.
What? 2 for 1 in public, and raisins with chocolate on top.
No,
Good for you, but-
that.
Oh, still.
Adoption.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Wonderful. He is so affectionate, little cards of the night, and he's her passenger brat, and care of the house with house.
The other cat.
First cat, she is a cat, I know, cause he gets along well with other cats. I don't know how good these pictures are, but. He's very affectionate. I appreciate that very much, thank you. You can have it. Maybe you'll know something. Post it somewhere. Things like this, just a regular. Oh, no. Oh, can you see it? How's the baby girl?
Yeah. You're just kind of my favorite things that make her happy. That purple balls. Yeah, she comes. That. I want to take the night.
Yes.
Taking questions like now or later, or,
Let me, yeah, I'll take a couple questions. Yeah, please.
what's a seed symbol?
So a seed syllable is an object of concentration. All the deities have them. They have their own seed syllables. With Vajrasattva, some of you doing that, the seed syllable is hung that you're visualizing. With Tara, it's Tam. Chenresig, it's Shri. They all have different. So what you'd do is you'd have that as like a triple level thing. So you've got the guru, she's at the guru's heart, and at the heart of her is this little lotus, moon disc, all the tantric things. And then in the center of that moon disc standing upright, in the nature of light, would be the seed syllable. All the sadhanas, these methods of accomplishment, the practices, are pretty much the same. Where they're going to have their own. So it gets you used to visualizing something very, very small, which you're ultimately setting your mind up for with completion stage tantric practice. So that's what we're trying to do. So it's really an object of concentration and kind of an energy center, a little bit like that.
Oh, thank
Yeah, there's a lot more you can say about it, but that's
you. For me.
Sheil, question online.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm just curious, Venerable, when you say that instead of speaking to our friends, we go to Tara for like support, like how does that work? Like do I just say what I would be saying to my friend and then like I pause and something is gonna come into my mind or I go for a walk? Like I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, so basically it comes through developing a more mature practice where you're, and I'll give you one example. That so my first retreat alone was at Laudo, a very remote place, retreat center near Mount Everest, very precious place near Mount Everest. And I had consultation with Rinpoche. I had a whole blessing of doing this practice. So it was a water bowl nundro. So it's not like a really high level retreat. Anybody can set these up, and in those days they didn't have practice booklets. Now they do, how you do the practice properly. So you'd go to different people that had done it and scribble down notes. And I went up there, and it was very hard, and I knew it was going to be a freezing cold place with no electricity and no running water. And but I also heard it was so beautiful and in the mountains, and it's an amazing place. So I went up there, and then I asked Lama Zopa Rinpoche instructor, but then he sent me to another teacher, Kirti Senchab Rinpoche, who gave me some instructions, and I was very worried. So I just kind of blurted out once in this meeting with him with an interpreter, because he only spoke Tibetan, that please, I'm scared, can you pray for me to do this retreat well, so that I can finish the number of water bowls I wanted to do that Rinpoche told me to do. And then he said to me in Tibetan through the interpreter, of course, I'll pray for you to clear obstacles. But you just talk to Tara. You just pray to Tara. She'll take care of everything. And I didn't have much context, Tara. And I mean, I knew about Tara, and I was at a center for a few months. So we had been doing Tara practices, and we had done some all-night Tara practices. When you're younger, you can do, right? Where we would stay up to help. We got instructions from Rinpoche to help this person's life do these. So many centers around the world were doing Tara praises that we're going to do today. Some of you have already done at the center, can do them in English or Tibetan. We were doing them mostly in Tibetan, and it was the way I learned the Tara praises, is you just do them over and over and over again out loud. So we did them all night. It was a great way to learn. Fortunate. And so when I went to Laudo, and he said, you just do the Tara praises, so every day I did them, and I would do like 1 set or 3 sets, thinking about her. I had a picture of her, a little card somebody had given me. I had a picture, and I would just kind of say to myself in my practice, I was doing different Lam Rim meditations, and and I'd say, please help there be no obstacles to the water, because I needed the water to do the water bowls, and there wasn't much water up there. So we brought pipe in the next village. We ran it from a spring. There were obstacles constantly. So the pipe was above ground. The yak in the area would kick it apart. I'd have to go and hike out and find it, because the spring was 20 minutes walk away. So I'd find it and put it back together. And then eventually we buried the pipe. The pipe was great because it was going to help Laudo in the future. They used that pipe for years. It was still running in the wet season. So every day I did this, but I didn't have much, real feeling. But every day I did. I told this story before. And then I was able to have water the whole time I needed it. And the day when I knew I finished the water bowls, I had completed, the next day the water finished. So, and I thought that was a little bit odd, and then I didn't think much more. But when I told Rinpoche's sister, she's at the center, running the center, and I'd go down to the kitchen then. And then when I explained that there's no more water at the house now, it finished the day after, and she thought that was extraordinary, and she kept telling everybody that, she finished water bowls, then the water finished. She finished, water finished. So then it deepened my faith in Tara, that maybe there's something, there's a lot of stuff we don't see, and we very much exist in this concretized little limited view. So why not expand the view a little bit? So I developed more faith. So more and more I would, do these Tara praises. I have a whole list. I ask Tara every day, that please help. And I have more faith in her now. I really think she's there. If you want to get in touch with these deities, but it takes, some practice, and I really do feel that it's a way of deepening. So I don't know if that helps. That
Yes, it's very inspiring to hear. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, and I'm just an ordinary person doing practice. Many of my friends have had experiences of that, of trying to clear some obstacles. And welcome.
Thank you.
Come on in.
Sorry I'm late.
No problem.
Recording.
We're recording. Thank you. Yes, so please, Just getting some people situated. Come on in. Any more questions online, in person? Yes.
Hey, when you do 21 tara, you do 21 tara. For example, you do 2 tara, for example, green and white, or
So generally, when you do the Tara praises, there's a 4-line verse for every Tara. So you do all 21. You wouldn't just do 2 of them. But if you're doing a separate practice, and I'm doing a green Tara practice like we're doing today, and there's different types, then you would do this practice for the green Tara, reciting her mantra. If you want to do a long life practice, and sometimes teachers have advised you to do a long life practice, then you do the white Tara practice for that, reciting that mantra. But when you do the Tara praises, you're doing all 21 verses, which we'll do in a moment. Yeah. That makes sense? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go back to our practice. Go through a little bit more of this. Oh, not that one. I did want to read a little bit from this. Just give us a little context. Benefits, okay, of the green tar practice. So again, she liberates from ignorance, the root of cyclic existence, from self-centered thought. That helps. She liberates us from, I mentioned the 8 fears, outer and inner fears like that. And how does she liberate us? Okay, how does she protect us from danger? Okay, it's not by swooping down and carrying us away to some heaven. Okay, that's not going to happen for you. I really doubt. Okay, or by making a problematic situation magically disappear. It's not going to happen like that. Okay, enlightened beings, and they have this famous quote in the Lam Rim that enlightened beings cannot take away our defilements. Okay, like pulling a thorn from your foot. They don't give you realizations, like pouring water into an empty bowl. Okay, the fundamental way they help Tara or any other Buddha, okay, is by teaching us the Dharma. Okay, inspiring us to investigate the meaning of the Dharma so that you reach a correct understanding. Okay, they can guide you through a meditation practice, through a regular, consistent practice, so you generate the transformative realizations yourself. So sorry, but you need to make effort. You need to make the effort yourself. That's where we get lazy. You know, we want it all completed, easy. This is not the path then. Then find something else, honestly. If you want something easy, but this I found so rewarding, so rewarding. So again, when requesting Tara to free, when asking Tara for help, okay, we're actually calling upon our inner Tara. Okay, the seeds of our own wisdom and compassion, your own highest manifestation of all your good qualities. So through practicing that, we uncover those qualities more and more. We generate our own wisdom, eventually emptiness. Okay, through meditating, understanding more about emptiness or the other topics of the Lam Rim, and that helps you balance your mind. Then you have stuff to call on yourself, like that. So you can cleanse your mind of defilements and actualize the cessation of suffering in your mind. Let's see. So again, she liberates by embodying the realizations of the path. But again, it's your own sense of your own practice, developing those qualities yourself. So let's go back to our practice. And here's how we would start the normal. Most of the sadhanas start the same. Refuge, again, we're reestablishing that motivation, refuge, and bodhicitta. Let's recite 3 times. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merit from giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So here's a little something. So I was taught by Lama Zopa Rinpoche that when you recite those, you put your hands in prostration mudra. Okay, the thumbs are inside, the jewel in the lotus. These are like lotus flowers. The jewel in the lotus. Sorry, I'll just show. The jewel, thumbs together in the lotus. Put your hands in prostration mudra. Now, initially, I wasn't familiar with this at all. So people sit and recite. Okay, it's your choice. But then I was taught by a highly realized being, and then I didn't know about the realizations of that being. So I observed him for many years. But initially I was fascinated by him. He seemed to have a quality. This man, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, seemed to have a quality I'd never seen in anyone else before. This is your own path. This is how you discern. You have to investigate and check up. Please check everything I'm saying. Don't just believe it. You check. Is that accurate? Is that, and I make mistakes. Okay. I'm flawed. I'm not perfect at all. Okay. But this person, so I was checking. Then I had some good fortune to spend some more time with him. And then he had a trip to Tibet. I was over in Asia, met him. I wasn't going to Tibet. I had no interest. But 60 of his disciples were going. Okay. This is your own path. I had another thing. But fortunately, I was able to check with him, choosing that they said, if you do ask advice from a teacher, follow the advice, especially if they're somewhat of an authentic teacher. Don't just ask, I don't like what he said, too much trouble, I'm going to go to somebody else. That's going to create obstacles. So I realized if he says to go to Tibet, I'm ready to go, which created a huge amount of work for me, of visas, money wired. I mean, it was a whole massive thing in Nepal. It wasn't easy in those days to do any of that. Okay. But I was like, okay, I had the time. I took some time off of work. I'm ready to do. Right. And then he said, best to go. I got a letter back. Best after I wrote my thing. He said, my other trip I was planning, the original trip. He said, good, great, but Tibet best. I asked him what was best. I wanted to do what was best. So I went, incredible, good, positive karmic seed ripening for me. So then I had 3 weeks to watch him on the trip. I went for like 5 weeks or something, but 2 weeks we were traveling there. Then he showed up with the students. Every day there was an outing, morning, afternoon, sometimes all day into the night, an outing. And I watched him and I got to go on the outings, could join the group and I observed him. I never met anybody like that with those qualities. So then if he gave me advice and I decided to put the advice into practice, I felt more and more I had the blessing of that. So when he said some years later, then you put your hands in mudra of prostration. It's the way Rinpoche would phrase it, in the mudra of prostration. So then certain prayers, I would try that because that's what he advised. So I had the faith. This is how your own path. I had the faith in him to do it. So now I don't know. It's not like lightning goes off when I put my hands together. Okay. But because he said it, a little bit more positive seeds maybe in my consciousness. And then he said, when you're in front of any of these images, if you just by chance happen to put your hands together out of respect for these images, more positive seeds in your consciousness. That's just a little habit you develop. You don't have to do it in all the prayers through the sadhana, but the refuge and bodhicitta prayer generally. So again, you try. See how it fits together, a little bit like that. It's not a yoga thing. It's not the thumbs are always in, so there's something in the palms that you offer like that. So little things you learn along the way. So let's recite again. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By my merit from giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. One more time. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merit from giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. You really think about, let those words sink down. 3 times we kind of want to merge body, speech, mind. Now again, only you put your hands like this if you can do it. Some people can't do that. So that you visualize. Good enough. 7-limb prayer, very profound 7 limbs. With my body, speech, and mind, I devoutly prostrate. I offer all offerings, both real and imagined. All sins and offenses amassed from beginningless time, I confess. I rejoice in all virtuous actions of holy and ordinary beings. O gurus and Buddhas, please remain until samsara ends and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. All my virtues and those of all others I dedicate to the great enlightenment. So this is some positive stuff coming into my mind. And then the mandala offering the universe. So create a nice section of I'm making some offerings, visualizing this incredible universe to the holy beings so that they will bless my mind. I'll have a better practice session like this, have all the conditions that I need to deepen my practice, to have every perfect Dharma condition if I want to do retreat like that. I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes I'm amazed at, I was just going to say, somehow trust this process of virtue. It's hard to say. I know you have to come to it in your own way. For me, again, when I left my career to turn to live at Dharma centers, it was a hard time because I had friends questioning what I was doing, my family questioning, oh, your jobs and your education, why are you doing this? You're giving, I didn't have much money, and I just felt like my heart, this is where I needed to go. So find that space for yourself. It's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. Rinpoche had one student she met, and she was considering, I want to do a retreat, long retreat. She was an engineer, right? Really skilled, really bright woman, lives in California. And Rinpoche said to her, oh, no, you need to, because but she presented what she wanted to do. So if you meet with a teacher, instead of going, well, what should I do? You kind of say, I'm interested in this study program. I want to do this at Thubten Kunga Center, or I'm thinking to do some nundro while I'm working. I'm a nurse, so I'm working here. Explain to them briefly it's easier for them to steer a moving vehicle, to know what you're interested in doing. They're not going to tell you get ordained. You didn't even present. You don't want to do that. So they're not going to like this. So it's easier than saying, what should I do? Present a little bit like this. So she went in and she said, well, I'm considering a master's in engineer in this field. She goes, because I work in this field, she told him. Yes. She goes, but I'm kind of thinking to let that go and join the study program full time and move to Italy, do the study program. Okay, that was a big change. She goes, or I want to do more retreat, and then maybe I could help this center. And he told her to do the master's and stay as an engineer for many years. Okay, so everybody's different like that. She also had people she was supporting. So for me, I ended up, and with some consultation with Rinpoche, ended up living at centers. That was something that worked for me, and everything's worked out. Everything I've wanted to do has worked out. So trust that process. Again, if you can get some, if you're really diving into your practice, you really want to kind of go for it. And I'll give you an example, even recently. So I now really feel like I need to do more retreat every year, solo retreat. And last year I was incredible. I got 4 months at Laudo. Okay. So it's expensive for me to get up there. I was already over there for a meeting, so that was fine. But to get up there, the planes have gone up quite a bit. It's a little short flight, and it costs a fortune to fly up and down, right? Then I need a porter to get my stuff to Laudo for the retreats, just one duffel bag. I can't carry it myself. So that's now like, it's gone up a lot. Okay. $50, $100 for that. Okay. Then Laudo's $30 a day, 4 months. So I don't pay $30 a day because I've raised a lot of money for them, and I only eat breakfast and lunch. And when you're there longer term, I talk with Annie, La Rinpoche's sister, and we arrange a price. So it's $20 a day. I feel like I need to pay them $20 a day. It's very expensive for them to get any kind of bag of rice up there, anything. It's very remote. So we settle on a thing. I like to give them something because it helps them. They need, that. So then I had that, and then you have all the visas. There's stuff you have to get, fees to the park, blah, blah. You get the idea. Okay. So it was a lot for me, 4 months, very little income, anything like that. So I just trusted. I have some savings. This is worth it. I'm gonna do this, right? And then I forget where it was. A woman I've known for years, but we were talking at Kopan before I left, and we're just in general, something, I'm gonna do this retreat. And she goes, I want to sponsor your retreat. I never said anything. I never said like I needed it. I don't like to hint about things. It's not really proper nun's behavior to do that, or monastic behavior, but just, she's in a culture, great thing to sponsor. So she goes, I'm going to sponsor your retreat. She goes, give me a rough idea what it's going to cost you. So I figured it out, very clearly. Amazing, amazing. So, similar thing happened this past year, shorter retreat, cheaper and things. And just a friend goes, oh, I can't do the retreat. I'm going to help you. I want to help you on the retreat. Incredible. So trust the thing. If you're really, I think the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are really helping. And they're very interested. If you're really trying everything, and especially if you're living simply and you're not asking for a lot of stuff, I need this, and that your mind's always frantic about, if you're just like, okay, good enough, do that. Fantastic. So helpful, and another friend helping, helping with all the airfares. Incredible generosity that let me do there, let me do that. It's incredible help like that. Incredible service, So just so fortunate, and being very authentic about what I'm doing. Like I'm not going to be like, okay, I'm going to, be very clear about what you're doing. Use it for something really meaningful. Everything will turn up for you. But you do have your karma you're working through. So sometimes difficulties show up like that. So then the practices, the Lam Rim help you deal with it like that. Really help. Mandal offerings. So let's create that situation. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this is a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. The objects of my attachment, aversion, and ignorance, friends, enemies, strangers, my body, wealth, and enjoyments. Without any sense of loss, I offer this collection. Please accept it with pleasure and bless me with freedom from the 3 poisons. Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kam Niratayami. So let's recite this request. Please bless me to purify all obscurations, non-virtues of my body so that it will become one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra body. So what you're going to visualize now, this has a unique visualization, this practice. And what you're going to visualize, it tells you everything to do in this practice. Okay. You got Tara, remember, on your crown. She's at the heart of the Guru. So you could say the Buddha, His Holiness, Rinpoche, whomever, tiny heart. And from that white Om at her forehead, okay, white light comes out, curving around to you and enters your brow. And it completely purifies all negativities you've done with your body. Okay. So just have a visualization. Just for a moment, visualize that white arc of light from the white radiant Om syllable at her forehead, curving around, entering your forehead, completely purifying, killing, harming others, stealing, sexual misconduct. All those negativities we do with our body. And just feel my body is purified completely of all obscurations and becomes one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra body. Just have some faith in that. Next request, purify speech. Please bless me to purify all obscurations of my speech so it will become one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra speech. Red light now comes from the throat, the ah syllable at her throat, over top your crown, curling around, entering your throat and purifying all lying, even white lies, divisive speech, harsh speech, and gossip. Completely entering your throat, and just feel my speech is purified completely of all obscurations, becomes one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra speech. Purification of the mind, 3rd visualization. Please bless me to purify all obscurations of my mind so that it will become one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra mind. Blue light rays emanating from the Hong syllable at her heart, curving around right into your heart. So purifying covetousness or greedy mind, harmful intent, and holding wrong views. Feel that your mind is completely purified of all obscurations, becomes one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra mind. So notice how they call her Guru Tara. So she's at the Guru's heart. So they're one powerful being like that. Now we're going to purify fourth visualization, subtle obscurations to omniscience. 3 colored light rays from the white Om at her forehead, the red Ah at her throat, the blue Hung at her heart. Those 3 light rays, white, red, and blue nectar rays, curving around, entering your forehead, throat, and heart. And we reread, please bless me to purify all delusions and subtle obscurations to omniscience, so that my body, speech, and mind will become one with Guru Tara's holy body, speech, and mind. Visualize those white, red, blue nectar rays. And feel that my body, speech, and mind become one in essence with Guru Tara's holy body, holy speech, holy mind. And then visualize that root guru you were visualizing, whomever it was, dissolves into Arya Tara at his heart. She melts into green light from the edges of that visualization into the center, into a radiant emerald green drop of light. And imagine that melting into your crown. And just feel instantly my wrong conception that I and all other phenomena are self-existent. So that dualistic mind and all of its experiences and views completely disappears, completely empty, absent of that inherent nature. Not even a trace of them remains. Please try to concentrate on this as best as you can. And feel this is the wisdom that is indistinguishably one with Guru Tara's blissful, omniscient consciousness. And it's from that wisdom that she instantly now arises, seated upon a lotus and moon cushion. Okay, and just visualize her back over top your crown. So unless you've had a highest yoga tantra initiation, you just visualize her on the crown, facing the same direction as you, but now it's just Tara, seated on that open lotus and moon cushion, emerald green goddess. At her heart is another, again, the tiny lotus and moon, and at the center, her seed syllable Tam. Radiant syllable standing upright, and around the edge of that moon disk at her tiny heart, standing in a clockwise direction, is her mantra, Om Tare, Tutare, Ture Soha. Just visualize as best as you can. So if you have trouble visualizing, it's hard to visualize the syllables, you visualize like a strand of emeralds around the edge that represent that mantra, gleaming in the nature of light. The Tam and the mantra garland are manifestations of Guru Tara's holy mind, and my mind is completely unified with that. And imagine green light rays now come from the Tom and the mantra garden and spreading through her entire body and coming out of the pores of her body in every direction. Purifies all negative karma, gross delusions, subtle delusions of all living beings. So just imagine that light ray pouring out of her body, of all the pores, all the directions, touching and purifying every living being. And imagine they all transform into Tara. And once again, light rays emanate from the Tom and the mantra garland. And now making offerings, coming out of her body again, all the pores, and making offerings to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The enlightened beings are very pleased, and all of that energy comes streaming back from them, this blessings, realizations, all their superlative qualities, right back into the center of Tara's heart, fully energizing her. So imagine omniscient wisdom, supreme power, infinite compassion. It's everything she represents. And now as we recite her mantra, okay, imagine that light rays are now coming back out from the Tom syllable and her mantra garland, filling her whole body, emanating out of all the pores of her body, and now descending down through our crown like a radiant emerald green waterfall, washing all the negativities, all of our inertia, our laziness to practice, our forgetfulness of what we're practicing, all the negative karma that keeps us from progressing along this path as we recite her mantra. So it's on the page. We're going to chant some together and just try to keep the visualization going as best as you can, and then we'll recite some on our own. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. 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 So when you recite on your own in a group, like a group retreat, you do have to have air leaving your mouth. So reciting her mantra, actually saying it, but not too loudly to disturb people seated near you. And you can go at any pace that you like as long as you're reciting it clearly. So please, you can do some on your own. So just feel a beautiful energy coming into you. Feel, just have some faith of a purification. Whatever imbalances, negative tendencies, whatever prevents you from really manifesting who you really are, from being that person, the highest level of your wisdom, compassion, loving kindness. It's all there inside of you. We just need to clear away some of the obstacles, some of the barriers we put up. Just feel all that energy coming into you, all of her incredible enlightened energy. It's always a resource for you. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. If you're in retreat on your own, sometimes group retreats, you might be reciting 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour of mantras. Some people recite an hour. You're doing an hour of mantra recitation, as long as you can try to keep your mind focused, because the mind wanders, you bring the mind back. Because you do with some retreats, you have to get through a number of mantras. So you have certain sessions where you're counting more mantras, some less, because you're doing more meditation on something else, trying to keep that visualization fresh in your mind. Dedication, then we would conclude. What you could do is you can leave Tara there. You could dissolve a replica of her. So from the edges of that visualization, along with her seed syllable, mantra garland, lotus, moon cushion at her heart, the lotus and moon, everything dissolves into a radiant emerald green drop of light. And you can imagine that dissolving into your crown. Feel those blessings from her holy body, speech, and mind. And then you could leave her out there, so when we offer food and drink, whatever you're doing, you think about her like that. At the end of the day, dissolve her into you. Feel that oneness with her. We'll do these dedication prayers. May I quickly become Guru Arya Tara Pagma Droma in Tibetan, and lead each and every sentient being into her enlightened state because of these merits. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. So we're going to just stop, take a break for lunch, and we'll do Tara praise this afternoon. I'll explain a little bit more. Any questions right now? Just a general, yes.
I was just always wondering why she appears so small. Is it because she's representing a woman or, I mean, there are tall women. No, but if you look at all the other ones, she's
It's
even in pictures, she's represented as a
so
tiny being.
it's just the size of the tanka. The tanka's the painting. It's just the size of the tanka.
Never seen, but I've seen bigger ones. I've just never seen.
Yeah, I've seen some huge ones,
Have
and
you
the
seen some?
statues I've seen statues that will be from the floor to the ceiling of
Yeah.
Tara. Big Tara. So it just depends on the size of the tanka. And tankas are based on, you would, the cost of them would be, if it's a bigger one, you're going to obviously pay more. If it has more gold in it, you'll be paying more. And our original religious paintings, they're called tankas, tanka paintings in Tibetan. And it's just based on the size and the quality of them and who's doing them. So it just happens to be a smaller one than the one next to it, the white Tara next to it
Yeah.
is just a bigger tanka, so it's bigger.
I have a very beautiful calendar of just about all of them. And she always comes, even on the regular page, she comes in teeny weeny in the same page size. They're always much bigger. I just
Right.
wondered why
Well,
that
part of it
was.
is she part of it with 21 Taras around her, because then they have to kind of fit everybody in there. It's a lot of,
Yeah, that. would
sometimes it's
be-
because,
that's a good
but
point
it is a
there.
patriarchy. So you're
Yeah.
gonna, like when you see tantric deities in union, male, female. So it's really, one is both. You want to think about it like that. One is both. One is both of those energies integrated like that. However, the male deity, it's always named after the male deity, and the male deity is much bigger. And you see the little female, it's a patriarchy. It's just a sign of the patriarchy like that. My favorite season, the fall of the patriarchy. Okay, sorry. Sorry. But yeah, no, so that's, it could be that they're trying to fit in more deities, smaller tanka, or like that.
I actually thought Marian's question was why she's small in the visualization. Because I think I've seen some other, or like there's other practices where it's not the Buddha or your guru and Tara as one, but just Tara. So I was curious about that part, like why she's smaller and
At the heart, at the
Yeah.
heart. There's different ways to visualize, but that's this particular practice. It also has the 3 arcs of light rays. That's unique. This is a unique practice like that. But again, Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, if you're doing Lama Chopa. So my visualization every morning, I carry it with me. So I've got Lama Tsongkhapa. He's the kind of focus, but I also think of him as the Buddha, as my teacher. But at his heart is the Buddha. At the heart of the Buddha is the primordial Buddha, Vajradhara, who's one with my particular root guru. So they get smaller. Just depends on what you're visualizing. It doesn't
Like you've
have
been doing for us on Mondays with the Lama Tsongkhapa.
the Lama Tsongkhapa, yeah. So again, then he could have at his heart a smaller Buddha. The Buddhas could be seen as male because the Buddha was historically male in 2,600 years ago as an Indian prince. So he's smaller at the heart. So it just depends on the visualization, but all is powerful. They all contain all the qualities, all the good qualities. No difference there. Yeah. And women can get enlightened just like men, like that. But it seems like we have more obstacles. And I think that's just reality. So again, like I had karma to come back as a woman. I created whatever karma. Now there's advantages and there's disadvantages to both sexes or non-binary. We all have advantages, disadvantages like that. Just depends on the karma and like that. Yeah. Okay, we're going to conclude there. Let's just do a quick food offering prayer. It's very helpful to do before our lunch. So we take the essence of Rinpoche said that we get the most benefit. Very helpful. Let's get the right one up. So let's bless Whatever food we're eating, we imagine we bless with the body, speech, and mind of the holy beings. Om, Ah, Hong. Those 3 syllables, again, white, red, and blue nectaries. You just get used to that. Comes in to the whatever food we're eating. We'll say 3 times. Om, Ah, Hong. Om, Ah, Hong. Om, Ah, Hong. And let's read the bottom part of this time. May we and those around us in all future lives never be separated from the 3 jewels, continuously make offerings to the 3 jewels, and receive the inspiration of the 3 jewels, to the supreme teacher, the precious Buddha, to the supreme refuge, the precious Dharma, to the supreme guides, the precious Sangha, to the triple gem, the objects of refuge, I make offering. Lama Zopa Rinpoche was all about his big on food offerings. His food offerings sometimes would take 20 to 30 minutes while the food was getting cold. They served me, I had lunch with him many times or dinner. And one time I saw Geshe Sopa, one of Lama Zopa Rinpoche's teachers. So he was invited for lunch at Rinpoche's house. We were all there. And Geshe Sopa is the one who has taught every summer at Deer Park in Madison, Wisconsin, where he was a professor at the university. And he would teach the commentaries on the great treatise of the Lam Rim Chenmo. So there's a couple maroon, I see the books back there, there's 5 volumes. 2 of the volumes are there on the shelf, I can see them. Brilliant commentaries on the very detailed part of the Lam Rim. Eventually, when you slowly work your way up there, they're brilliant. And he came and we were having lunch, and then Rinpoche, you could see the hands go up because Rinpoche always offers his food, and Rinpoche, and then I caught Geshe Sopa side-eyeing Rinpoche, like, how long is this going to take? I could see the knowing, we all know, and then because it was Rinpoche's guru and he probably knew Geshe Sopa didn't want to be offering for 30 minutes, Rinpoche made it quicker, very quick. It was so cute. But once I heard a story, Rinpoche was in Italy teaching and big gompa full of people, and they brought the lunch right into the gompa because there wasn't enough room in a dining room. So everybody was eating there. They served the food there, and then there was a translator into Italian. So Rinpoche would teach in English or Tibetan or whatever, and then so the food offering, and everyone's expecting a long food offering. And then Rinpoche said, "Oh, Mahong, oh, Mahong." They joined, and then Rinpoche said, "No, visualize yourself as big as a house, as big as a house." He said, "Okay." So the translator translated, and then Rinpoche said very quickly, "And now eat." So everybody laughed, and then everybody waited, and then Rinpoche said it again, "Visualize yourself as big as a house. Now eat." So he did it 3 times. And then by the 3rd time, everyone was a little uncomfortable. And then Rinpoche looked around at everyone and he said, "What's the problem?" And he said, "Isn't that what you usually do when you eat? Isn't that how we eat? We're hungry, cavernous. I'm hungry. Eat like that." It was such a great lesson. Such a great lesson, I meant. Amazing. So it's nice to have a moment before the food. You can have a moment. Think about all the people that don't have food, starving, like how easy the food is for us, how beautiful the food is for us, how kind people offering food to you. I mean, it's amazing what we have of food, right? I've had people like the 2 weeks I've been here that, dear Peggy, every day she's like, "Is there anything else you need?" Margaret's always asking, "Is there anything else you need?" So sweet, so kind, these constantly like totally spoiled. Think about how so many people don't have any of that. Never had that. So sad. So I can visualize, I can think, I can offer to the holy beings. So it's all about, you get the merit. You much stronger for your mind. So then Rinpoche and Roger's main attendant were on a plane flying, and they serve food, right? This is a famous story as well. Serving food. So they offer, seated next to each other, they offer. So finally Roger, finished his food offering and he started eating. And the flight attendant came by and they were in a little bit of a hurry when they served and just said, we'll need to collect the food in about 10 minutes. Because Rinpoche hadn't touched it. He was just, And then she came back 5 minutes later. We will be collecting the trays in 5 minutes. Please tell your friend that, and then finally she came and said, I'm sorry, we need to collect the food room. She hadn't touched it. And then they took the tray. He hadn't eaten anything. And then he turned to Roger and he said, it's okay, I got the benefit. So again, it's a different way of thinking. So in our process, this retreat of how do I create something more stable for my mind to deal with all the problems in my life, any problem that arises, small, great, and then my external reality when I'm interacting with people. Okay, there's always a different way of thinking about it. A lot of us have ordinary thinking. It's common. That's how we think. But what if I could go into extraordinary thinking? Thinking of somebody before myself. What's their experience? What do they need? What can I do for this person? Maybe I can just pause for a moment. Assess the situation you're walking into. Some people barge into places. There's the self-dominant I. I need, what if you come in? You're meeting a friend for lunch. You're going over to somebody's house. Come into the center. What's happening? How are people doing? What do they need? What's going on? How can I positively contribute to the situation? How can I least harm? How can I take up as less space as I need, but in a balanced way? Make sense? Those are the kind of things we want to create, that kind of thinking more and more to train ourselves. Most of you are already doing like that. Okay, let's take a break for lunch for an hour. 20 to 2, is that okay? Should we cut let's say quarter to 2. Quarter to 2, enough time for people? Does that seem okay?
Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.